Do you have internet problems, DJ?
Um, what was that?
Do you have internet problems?
No, it's not internet problems. It's more like Streamlabs OBS problems. Uh, uh, okay. So I'm gonna be going live now and doing the Friday Night Nicktoons intro again. Okay, on the count of three. Uh, one, two, and three. No, no, no. Okay. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Okay. I see that your faces are still looking frozen. Like it's still having some lag and issues. Like it's the whole Streamlabs thing that looks frozen.
Aw.
Yeah, I know. But well, let me bring up the chat, the link to the live stream. I mean, for you guys.
I've already got it open.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So let me start playing the intro.
From the Nicktoon Animation Studio in Hollywood.
Told you to pour glass.
Norbert, are you still hungry?
Not really, no.
Okay, I was just wondering because I was wondering if you wanted a bite of this croissant.
Are you going to finish that croissant?
Yeah, the screen's still looking frozen on my end. In fact, it's still a very slow pace.
You know,
No.
part of me wanted, part of me wanted, part of me wanted, part of me is wondering, part of me is wondering.
Yeah, I'm using. Hang on a second. Yeah, I am. I'm using. This is the new one. Not OBS. This is Streamlabs. Like I started using it because I was inspired by Joanna. Did a bit of it. She uses that for her streams. Oh, Streamlabs OBS. They're sort of the same thing. Boy, this one has more features. Yeah. No, just OBS. Just Streamlabs OBS, I mean. This is the one that she uses, Streamlabs. Yeah, I've stopped using OBS for a long time. Since last April. in case you hear me, you said that the chat or the videos will unfrozen.
Yeah, they are.
Oh, okay. And Webby says that it's working. And if there's any more technical difficulties, then we should okay. So it seems like everything is okay now. So would you like to resume to what you were saying, Jason?
It depends on whether or not, because I wanted to be able to have like new, like, is number 31 still up, and this is the new 31.5?
This is a story 1.5.
Okay, all right. Hey, everybody who's watching this, let me know in the live chat which part of me talking about Nickelodeon, like my experience of it, were you able to hear? Like, what was the last show I mentioned before number 31 got cut off? And Barry, if you see it in the live chat, just let me know.
Okay.
Are we just waiting for someone to answer that question before we move on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I suppose that I could open a tab and try and watch it, but I'm afraid that there'll be feedback if I play it on my browser.
Oh, okay. So,
Hang on a second. Hang on.
Oh, Brendan says that that he can't remember regarding which part to like start over. So I think you could you could I assume you could just start from the beginning of what you're saying, Jason.
Okay. All right. What has been my experience with Nickelodeon shows? Well, I was born in 2002, and Nickelodeon has been a part of my childhood for as long as I can remember. So many of the very first Nickelodeon shows I saw were ones from the mid to late 2000s. Of course, I was practically raised on the big dogs like SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, Drake and Josh, Jimmy Neutron, and iCarly, but I also remember checking out some of Nick's less popular but still well-remembered shows on the main channel, such as Chalk Zone, Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide, All Grown Up, and Zoe 101. I don't remember ever seeing either Danny Phantom or My Life as a Teenage Robot on the main Nickelodeon channel, but back then, my family had all the cable channels, so I watched their reruns on, at the time, what was known as the Nicktoons network. I continued to regularly focus some of my attention on the channel until around 2013 or so, after many of the shows on the main Nickelodeon channel that I liked, such as Tough Puppy and Victorious, still in production at the time, were canceled and replaced with new shows that I didn't care for very much, if at all, such as Sanjay and Craig and Henry Danger. And one of my former all-time favorite Nicktoons, The Fairly Odd Parents, was really starting to show its age. After that, it became more of a channel that I only saw when my stepbrother Richard was in control of the TV, with most of my own TV time instead being spent exclusively on watching Cartoon Network and Disney Channel. I watched a little bit of Harvey Beaks around 2015 and thought it was a cute cartoon, but that was pretty much it in regards to my willing exposure to Nickelodeon around 2014 to 16. It was a really dark era for the channel at the time. However,
Yeah.
my tune began to change after I joined YouTube and became part of the animation fandom, which was how I learned about a little animated series on Nickelodeon known as The Loud House. I gave that series a try by watching 2 hours of back-to-back episodes on Nickelodeon in January 2017 to see if I thought it lived up to the hype. And thankfully, I did. I then I then began to watch Nickelodeon regularly again, just so I could see The Loud House any chance I got whenever I wasn't watching reruns of Gravity Falls and Star vs. the Forces of Evil on Disney Channel or Steven Universe and We Bare Bears on Cartoon Network. But that doesn't mean I didn't try giving other Nicktoons a chance. I watched the first few episodes each of Bunsen is a Beast and Welcome to the Wayne when those shows were brand new, but while they certainly weren't bad in my opinion, I wasn't really able to get into either of them. So I ultimately switched back to checking out Nickelodeon just for The Loud House. Unfortunately, though, my dad and stepmom decided to get rid of our cable in July 2019. So I abruptly lost access to Nick when I was near the tail end of The Loud House's third season. My family eventually got a condensed digital version of Comcast's cable package, an app known as Xfinity Stream, in October 2020, but sadly, Nickelodeon is not one of the channels that we have access to. Therefore, the only time I've been able to check out the actual Nickelodeon channel live, rather than through a DVR given to me by a friend, for the past 2 years. Wait, let me read that again. The only time I've been able to check out the Nickelodeon channel live, rather than through a DVR recording given to me by a friend, for the past 2 years, is whenever I spend a Friday or Saturday night at my Grandpa Bill's house, which usually only happens once a month. Because of this, I ended up missing out on both the Casa Grandes and its Pony when they started premiering new episodes. But luckily, I was able to start watching both of them earlier this year, as the former show had its entire first season released on DVD on February 2nd, 2021, and the latter show began airing on Nick Pluto TV, Nickelodeon's all-rerun channel offered on Viacom's free internet service, Pluto TV, on May 1st, 2021. It's Pony is the most recent Nickelodeon-produced series I've seen that was actually broadcast on the main channel. The most recent series made by Nickelodeon that I watched a full episode of, period, was Glitch Tax, which is technically a Netflix original series, but is still considered an official Nicktoon by Nickelodeon on account of it being produced at their animation studio in Burbank.
Right.
And the show was, and Glitch Tax was originally supposed to air on Nickelodeon before they decided to move to Netflix.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember exactly why that decision was made to begin with. Aside from the cliched assumption that Nick doesn't care about cartoons other than SpongeBob or The Wild House. Yeah, what do you guys think?
Piggy Malinky also had the same thing. That show was also delayed for quite a bit before Nickelodeon decided to put it on Netflix.
Right.
It's just because of the fact that that Viacom struck a deal with Netflix for Nickelodeon to produce some content for the service. So I guess they wanted to take advantage of that deal.
Yeah. Okay. So.
So as for the Nickelodeon shows that came out a little bit before my time, I've actually been a fan of quite a few of them for much longer than you might expect. My mom used to have some of the pre-SpongeBob 90s Nicktoons on VHS, and she handed them down to me when I was 3 years old. So watching those tapes was how I got introduced to Rocko's Modern Life, Hey Arnold, and Cat Dog. Also, Rugrats not only had an insane amount of VHS tapes that I also got as hand-me-downs from Mom, but was also still airing reruns on the Nicktoons network when I was a little kid. So I was introduced to that series at a very young age as well. Eventually, in 2010, Nickelodeon introduced a new section to their video on demand service known as Nickelodeon Rewind, not to be confused with Nick Rewind, the block dedicated to throwback Nickelodeon shows that airs on T-Nick, featuring 4 or 5 episodes each of many classic Nicktoons, which was how I got introduced to the other 2 of the original 3 Nicktoons, Doug, and arguably the most important of the initial trio, at least in terms of how influential it was to animation as a whole, the Ren and Stimpy Show. However, it wasn't until a few years later when I first exposed myself to the Angry Beavers and All Real Monsters. Heck, I even remember playing the Nicktoons Racing arcade game, featuring characters from those 2 shows as playable racers at my local Chuck E. Cheese's before watching the Beavers and Real Monsters' own shows.
I remember seeing that for my birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese's when I was like 8 years old.
My proper introduction to both of those cartoons occurred in 2015 when I watched both of them on T-Nick as part of their retro Nickelodeon block, which at the time was known as The Splat. Nick Rewind has gone through many name changes over the years.
Yep.
That block was also how I saw many of the live-action Nickelodeon shows from the 90s for the first time. Most notably, All That, Keenan and Kel, Clarissa Explains It All, and Are You Afraid of the Dark? Sadly, my family decided to stop paying for the extended cable package in 2016, so I lost access to T-Nick right as The Splat was about to start airing a certain underrated classic Nicktoon. You've probably heard of it before. It's called As Told by Ginger.
Whoa! I'm sorry, just had to do that. Yeah, I'm sorry, just had to do that.
Ginger was a show that people recommended to me very often, and I always wanted to see it ever since I first heard of its existence in 2015, but I never got around to watching a whole episode until May 21st, 2021, when I caught a rerun of the episode Heat Lightning on Nickelodeon's Pluto TV channel, back when they used to air a block of nearly all the classic Nicktoons on Friday nights. I was able to enjoy my first dose of Ginger, despite it being part of an ongoing story arc, As Told by Ginger being the very first American cartoon to feature episodes that were all connected to each other as a sequence of events, rather than being a show where something that happens in one episode doesn't usually affect what goes on in the next. So I caught every rerun I could until Nick Pluto TV got lazy and turned their Flashback Fridays block into an all-day Rugrats marathon, which later became a Hey Arnold marathon. Ironically, now that we're on the topic of Hey Arnold and As Told by Ginger, one of the very first Ginger episodes I saw was the controversial Fair to Cloudy, which most fans, including Barry, considered to be the show's absolute low point, but I personally thought was okay. Just like how Barry's first experience with Hey Arnold, for those of you who did not see his standalone live stream about Nickelodeon, was its 2002 theatrical movie, which most fans of that series, including yours truly, consider to be its all-time low point, but was what got Barry hooked on Arnold, Gerald, Helga, and Friends.
Yeah, and I still find that movie to be pretty enjoyable. But then once the Jungle movie came out, 15 years later, it obviously blew the first movie out of the water.
Sadly, I only got to see 4 unique Ginger episodes: Heat Lightning, Fair to Cloudy, Stuff Will Kill Ya, and Detention, before Nick Pluto TV went on autopilot on June 13th, 2021, causing every series that wasn't SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, iCarly, Henry Danger, The Thundermans, and Rugrats, the last of whom was eventually replaced with Hey Arnold 2 weeks ago, to get kicked off the channel. But thankfully, it wasn't too long after this, specifically on June 27th, 2021, when my mom gave me an early birthday present, a subscription to Paramount Plus. As soon as I got the service, I used it to start watching As Told by Ginger in chronological order right from the very beginning, the way it was meant to be. Since Paramount Plus is currently the only place where you can legally watch the entire show. It was available on iTunes for a brief time, but they took it off later on. In case you were wondering how far I've gotten in regards to my binging of Ginger, I'm currently 12 episodes into the 2nd season. It's the How to Be in Love with a Foreign Exchange Student episode that was the most recent one I've seen so far.
That one is pretty problematic.
Yeah, the love potion portion has not aged well, considering a lot of stuff that's been going on, especially in regards to creators who worked for Nickelodeon. You already know which people I'm talking about.
Yep, but we're not going to go into those details right here, I mean.
Okay. I know, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Paramount Plus was also my proper introduction to 2 other retro Nickelodeon shows that also never got any proper home media releases prior to the launch of the service. Kablam, and You Can't Do That on Television. And yeah, that's my experience with all the Nickelodeon shows I've seen.
Wow, that was very insightful and in-depth, Jason. Now I'm gonna move on to the next 2 guests. Zara, I know you've been the most quiet out of the 4 of us. Do you mind summarizing what your experience with Nickelodeon's like?
Before I do that, can everybody see and hear me okay?
Yeah, we can see and hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll try not to be as long. So, Nickelodeon, it was just on back when I was growing up in the 2000s. I'm so old to the point where I remember the Splat logo. And I just watched it with my mom's boyfriend's kids at the time. And then later on, I didn't have cable anymore around after 2010, so I stopped watching it around then and just saw it at my grandmother's house. But I got back into Nickelodeon more during the 2010 decade after a lot of bad personal events really took a toll upon me, so I turned to Nickelodeon for relief. And I really have enjoyed Nickelodeon since, thanks to it, saving me from a lot of bad things. So, thumbs up to that.
It's nice that you said that, Sarah, because As Told by Ginger is my new comfort show because of a lot of stuff, my own personal stuff that's been going on recently, which of course I'm not talking about here. And that show being so realistic in its portrayal of all the serious issues it talked about, while at the same time also having a sense of warmth to it all, makes the show really appealing to me right now.
Yes, I'm really happy to hear that, Jason. Like, that's sort of the point of the show. It's to not only to be entertained by, but also to relate to the characters as well. Feel what they're feeling, and basically see yourselves into them and their situations. And that's one of the reasons why I appreciate it as well. So, Norbert, I know you're a huge Nickelodeon fan for your entire life. So, mind talk about your experience, what you love about the network and company.
Okay, so so I lived in Canada for most of my life. So in Canada for most of until 2009, we didn't get Nickelodeon in Canada. We got YTV. Yeah. So for those who don't know, in Canada we have slightly different kids channels. There are basically four major kids channels in Canada. YTV, which is Canadian Nickelodeon. Teletoon, which is Canadian Cartoon Network.
And Family, which used
This is the Family Channel, which is Canadian Disney Channel, and Treehouse, which is basically a preschool channel.
Yep.
I did watch SpongeBob and Fairly Odd Parents, and I believe Danny Phantom on YTV and Jimmy Neutron too. In 2009, on Nickelodeon Canada came to be, and I started watching some of the Nicktoons that were coming on around the time, like Fanboy and Chum Chum and Tough Puppy, etc. Around 2013, I believe around the time when Sanjay and Craig came around, I kind of lost interest in Nickelodeon. But I started to get back into it, I believe, in 2015 when I started watching some episodes of shows on pirated sites, and that's kind of what got me back into Nickelodeon animation in general. And then I got into the cartoon community in 2016. But yes, I do have an affinity for Nickelodeon. I have Asperger's syndrome, and one of the symptoms of Asperger's syndrome is that you have special interests. It's basically something that kind of interests you to a big degree, and you kind of have a fondness for.
Exactly.
Now I have a few special interests, but Nickelodeon is one of them. I just really like the fact that I'm not only on the channel for kids, but I grew up watching a lot of their shows, and I do have a lot of respect for them on the channel, even despite the fact that they have made some controversial decisions over the years, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But overall, I really do like Nickelodeon and their shows, and that's basically how I got into them. I'm sorry if I'm stuttering, by the way.
No, it's okay. You're still comprehensible to me, Norbert.
Okay.
Yep.
So basically, from what I'm getting at, Norbert, you were introduced to Nickelodeon's content at around the same time as me, lost interest in the channel's content at around the same time as me, and then became a fan of the channel again at around the same time as me. What?
Maybe slightly different. I was born in 1999, and you were born in 2002, so I'm 3 years older than you, but I'd say around maybe 2003. I'd say maybe 2005-ish is. I believe that's when I was watching YTV a lot. I was watching those shows on YTV. Then 2009, that's when Nickelodeon Canada came to be, and then 2013, that's when I lost interest. And 2015 is when 2015 is when I started to get back into them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what's odd?
What?
So you know how Teletoon, YTV, and Family used to produce original content that would then be imported to the networks that they were basically the Canadian versions of.
Right.
Like Nick aired a few shows that they imported from YTV. Disney Channel had a few shows that they imported from Family. Anybody remember Life with Derek? And
Oh yeah, I do.
Sort
We know the theme song for sure.
And Cartoon Network is the big one. They used to air a lot of shows.
Total Drama.
Shown on Teletoon. Well, not just Total Drama. They aired a lot of Teletoon stuff around the late 2000s and early 2010s. So I always found it weird whenever the balance wasn't in order and they ended up importing a show from one of the other networks. Like Wayside was a Teletoon original, but it aired in the U.S. on Nickelodeon.
Yeah, and also all those Naked Animals on those being on YTV, but that went to Cartoon Network.
Also, the same thing with Scaredy Squirrel and Sidekick.
Yep.
I should mention that that I was still watching YTV up until I believe I'm into the 2010s. So I believe around 2012, 2013 up until that point, I believe I was still watching Zeke's Pad and Almost Naked Animals and the YTV shows that they had at the time.
Yeah. But it doesn't really matter that Wayside is a Teletoon original anymore because YTV is now the place where it's airing reruns.
That's true. Yeah, I think that they still air reruns of it to this day, alright? I haven't checked
Yeah,
YTV schedule. Oh, cool. Yeah,
and
Wayside, I became a fan of the show like around 10 years ago. Like this fall will mark the 10th anniversary of when I became a fan of it, and I I love watching just the colorful animation and the wacky offbeat humor, and even though it did frustrate me sometimes, like with how Todd would be treated amongst all of those goofballs in the school. But yeah, Wayside will play a lot on Teletoon during the afternoon, and then when it started rerun on White TV, I was like, awesome. But quickly, I was like, yeah, I've seen those same 26 episodes over and over again enough already.
yeah, it's kind of the same thing with GarageBand, except that I don't live in Canada. GarageBand only had 26 episodes. That's another Teletoon show. But Teletoon still airs the show to this very day. They rerun, just like how Wayside is on YTV right now. Teletoon airs those 26 episodes to death over and over again just to meet the CanCon requirements.
Yeah.
Yeah, for those who don't know what CanCon is, basically there's a rule here in Canada that on the certain amount of content has to be Canadian content. So that's why like YTV and Teletoon will often play a lot of total drama and sidekick and shows like that. And that's also why that's also why Canadian radio stations often play a lot of Canadian artists. They play a lot. Sorry, I should speak slower. That's also why Canadian radio stations often play a lot of Canadian artists. That's why Canadian pop stations will often play a lot of Mariana Trench, Tyler Shaw, Headley, artists like that.
It's the same reason. It's the same reason why I'm working in Canada versus America.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess start answering all those questions that all those lucky YouTubers out there were able to submit to us.
Yes, that's exactly what I was going to ask. If we could get on with answering the questions.
I'm not sure how long I can stay, so can we start with mine?
Sure.
Okay.
Well,
sure.
I was going to do Norbert's question and then Zara's because they kind of go hand in hand with each other.
Okay.
Alrighty. So Norbert's question was, what Nickelodeon show do you think was the most impactful for them or has the most important legacy?
SpongeBob. No contest.
Yeah,
you knew that was going to be my answer.
Yeah, honestly, for me, as much as I like to say it's SpongeBob because of how it's the most universally known Nicktoon, we have to all remember, if SpongeBob wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for the Ren and Stimpy. So I feel like that's the most important Nicktoon of them all, especially of the first three. And yeah, because I know it's something that's repeated to death amongst what animation historians have already said, like it's included in the book Sick Little Monkeys by Zach Komorowski, that the Ren and Stimpy show was a real unique breath of fresh air in the animation industry. It reminded people that cartoons can be really good when it's done with the creator-driven mindset. And even though there are some negatives to the influence, like with some weekly written gross out shows, but there's a lot of positives, like what I just mentioned about how cartoons can be great again. We don't have to rely on script driven stuff that is commissioned by like executives, so we could the animation business could force on cartoons that are created by real animators and cartoonists. So that's why I feel that Ren and Stimpy is the most important Nicktoon influence-wise, on top of being awesome in its own right.
Alright, so I guess I may as well explain why my answer is the sponge, because I feel like I can't really say that that's an answer without backing it up with actual evidence. Backing up. In my opinion, even if it isn't your favorite Nickelodeon show ever or anything like that, It's sacrilegious if you're a Nickelodeon fan who says that any other show had a bigger impact on the network, for better or for worse, than SpongeBob. While it may have been regarded as a much better show when judged in its entirety if it had ended with the 2004 theatrical movie, and the show's popularity has led to the death of oh so many other Nicktoons, I'm glad that the series is still producing new episodes to this very day. Season 12 just finished here in America. Because otherwise, the Sponge would have never have become the pop culture icon he is now. He's basically to Nickelodeon what Mickey Mouse is to Disney and Bugs Bunny is to Warner Brothers. Keeping his show on the air regularly has allowed the classic episodes to be seen by 3, soon to be 4 generations of children. Because of this, the most memorable lines and pictures of SpongeBob, Patrick, Squidward, Sandy, and all their underwater buddies are now a permanent part of both our American heritage and our internet landscape. And Nickelodeon knows that. It's comforting to know that I can go to a local Hot Topic and find an official wooden key hook depicting SpongeBob about to sit down on the chair in front of his TV. You know, that image usually captioned with, "All right, I'm a head out." Thus creating a clever stealth pun that only us true Nickelodeon fans would understand. As for the runner-ups, I would choose Rugrats, Drake and Josh, and The Loud House. Rugrats was the longest-running Nicktoon of the 1990s and the longest-running Nickelodeon series, period, before SpongeBob came along, for a reason. It had a little bit of everything that made all the other pre-SpongeBob classic Nickelodeon shows great, rolled together into one coherent package. I'm honestly surprised that Drake and Josh only lasted 56 episodes. I could have sworn it ran for much longer than that, because it broke new ground for the live-action offerings of not just Nickelodeon, but all the children's networks at the time. With its enduring cast of characters, yes, even Megan. Relatable stories, and comedy that achieved the perfect balance between being nonsensical and witty. Although it was canceled in 2007, the series managed to continue airing as reruns on a consistent basis for nearly a decade and a half afterwards, thus ensuring that the same generations of kids hooked on SpongeBob SquarePants would also get the chance to see the crazy misadventures of those two stepbrothers struggling to just get along with each other. In fact, despite iCarly hogging up all the channel's attention, I would consider Drake and Josh to be the SpongeBob of Nickelodeon's live-action fare in terms of pop culture relevance. Well, at least I did, until a certain controversy regarding one of the show's 2 main stars came to light.
Jason, sorry to interrupt you, but Norbert just told me in the Skype chat that probably we should have Zara ask her question and get her answer, because
all right.
because he might wave soon. So go at it, Zara. Ask your question and your answer.
Okay, my question was, what Nickelodeon star do you think had the most successful career post-Nickelodeon? My answer is Emma Roberts from Nickelodeon's Unfabulous Going to American Horror Story.
I didn't know that she was on American Horror Story. If I'm thinking of like Nickelodeon sitcom stars, I guess I'd say Miranda Cosgrove. I don't want to say Drake Bell because of Drake. Well, I'm gonna have Drake Bell recently. I'm not gonna talk about that, and
right.
I'm not gonna say Amanda Bynes because Amanda Bynes' life went down the toilet. So I'd probably say Miranda Cosgrove.
And I personally think that Kenan Thompson is a person who comes to mind instantly, since after Kenan and Kel.
Oh yeah, Kenan Thompson too, definitely.
Yeah,
because He went to SNL.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of with you guys, have you guys noticed that I checked Nick Rewind and I may be wrong, but I think they forgot to acknowledge the 25th anniversary of Keenan and Kel. Have any of you noticed?
They did. Paramount Plus uploaded a video celebrating the anniversary on their official YouTube channel.
Oh, nice. Although I was expecting the Nick Rewind social media accounts, or specifically Twitter, because that's where I checked to acknowledge it.
No, instead they're airing a cat dog marathon right now for Peter Hanna's birthday.
Oh, that's cool. When is it his birthday?
I think it was either today, tomorrow. It was sometime during the weekend, which is why they're airing an all-weekend cat dog marathon.
Oh, that's nice. I think they should do that more often when it's a Nicktoon creator's birthday, they do a marathon of their show. Like if it's Emily Kapnick's birthday, they do an As Told by Ginger marathon. Or if it's Joe Murray's birthday, they do Rocco, and Craig Barway, they do an Arnold marathon, and so forth.
Yep. Well, they are doing a Hey Arnold marathon right now on Nickelodeon's Pluto TV channel, like I mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah, that show's turned 25 years old in a couple of months.
Yep. Okay. So my answer to Zara's question is unusually short. Melissa Joan Hart. After Clarissa Explains It All ended, she gained even bigger popularity with her role as the title character on Sabrina the Teenage Witch. She may not be the absolute biggest star in the entertainment industry or anything like that, but there are still plenty of people who know her, thanks to the success of Melissa and Joey on Freeform. However, I guess she couldn't resist going back to Nickelodeon, as she's now the voice of Becca Chang, Sid's mom on the Casa Grandes.
Oh. Yeah, I sometimes forget that Melissa Joan Hart, she is an example of a Nickelodeon actress who went on to slightly bigger things like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. So that's a good answer there, Jason.
Yeah, it's sad that not many people remember Clarissa Explains It All, and that was the show that put Melissa Joan Hart on the map.
Yeah.
I have the first season on DVD, but that was the only season out of 5 that they released on that format. The only other way you can watch the show now is through Paramount Plus.
Right. So, how about we move on to the next question to answer?
This might be the last question that I answer, by the way.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
So this question was submitted to us by my good YouTube buddy, Chelsea the Cartoon Gal. Why do you think Nickelodeon just relies on the SpongeBob and Loud House franchises and doesn't really give other Nicktoons a chance nowadays? I mean, Nickelodeon still treats their live-action shows fairly, and when Rugrats was the most popular Nicktoon back in the 90s and early 2000s, they didn't rely on just Rugrats. They gave other Nicktoons a chance too. Also, why did Nickelodeon take better risks back then than they do now?
That's a bit of a difficult question, and there are a few reasons for why that could be. It's possible that sorry, I can't speak. It's possible that Nickelodeon's business strategies changed, and now they believe that focusing on the bigger shows is what will give them the most profit, and that's what's better for them as a company. It could be argued that even with Rugrats, at the beginning, Rugrats was played quite a bit back in the 90s. That was basically SpongeBob before SpongeBob. As for why the live action shows aren't all being there isn't one like big live action show being a SpongeBob. That would be for the fact that the animation is cheaper. Also, Micah Wright, he mentioned in his long, disgusting, terrible post about Seema Zargami. He mentioned the live action shows are more of a union. So it's possible that live action shows are better protected, and that's why animation has got more of the blunt of Nickelodeon's business treatment because they don't have as much of a union as the live action shows are. Zara, do you want to answer next?
Sure. I guess because they found something that seems to work for them, they choose to stick to it. And, I guess different management did different things. So that's all on them, what they're doing now.
Right.
Oh,
I'm gonna give my answer next. So my original answer is that, well, basically, SpongeBob and the Wild House, they're in their respective ways, they turn out to be, comfort zones with the big successes that they resulted into and the money that they earned. But then after hearing Jason's answer, I just remembered about how even when Rugrats was the most popular Nicktoon, they still gave stuff like Hey Arnold and Cat Dog, and even during its infancy, SpongeBob, some decent and equal treatment.
have you seen those ancient posts on Toon Zone forums dated back to 2002 and 2003 about how everybody was complaining about how Rugrats was airing way too much on Nickelodeon and that everything else is on the channel except SpongeBob is trash?
Yeah,
Wow.
Two
I have
decades later,
I have
and
heard
it's
about I have heard about complaints that during the by the late 90s and early 2000s, Kwasky Chupo's Nicktoons were supposedly quote unquote oversaturated in the Nicktoons schedule, even though if you don't count All Grown Up, which debuted around the time the other Kwasky Chupo shows were in production, well, it's basically amounts to probably about 4 or 5, by the early 2000s, like Rugrats, Wild Strawberries, as told by Ginger, and Rocket Power, compared to the shows that are done by Nickelodeon Animation Studio themselves, which amounts to a little bit more. So I feel the oversaturation claims with Kwatsuki Chupo shows are slightly over-exaggerated.
Well,
yeah.
thank you guys so much for having me. I'm sorry I have to go.
Oh, it's
Okay,
okay, Zara.
see you later,
You take
Zara.
care.
Bye, Zara. It's too bad you won't be able to hear my answer.
All right, take care. Bye.
Okay, so I guess I may as well give my answer now.
Okay.
I honestly think that the main reason why Nickelodeon airs SpongeBob SquarePants and The Loud House so much is because they're in a state of content when it comes to their cartoons. Remember, streaming services didn't exist in the 1990s and early 2000s, with the closest thing at the time being video on demand services. So Nickelodeon had to give new shows a chance in order to survive. However, now that streaming is so popular, Nickelodeon wants to appeal to our modern binge-watching culture by airing hours upon hours of the same two shows over and over again, since that's how they can continue to get high ratings. As for why I personally believe Nickelodeon screwed over so many cartoons from 2006 onwards, if they don't automatically reach SpongeBob level ratings, and once that series premiered in 2016, also Loud House level ratings, is because they think that if an animated series isn't automatically as popular as those other two Nicktoons in the ratings, kids aren't interested in watching multiple episodes of that particular series in a row once it actually has enough episodes to be aired very frequently. Thankfully, though, this problem has somewhat been eradicated once Brian Robbins replaced Seema Zargami as Nickelodeon's president.
And actually, if I can interject for a second, it's actually funny that you mentioned about 2006 is when the Nicktoon Death Dreams kind of started. 2006 that was also the year that Simeon became president of Nickelodeon. So it's possible that the Nicktoons Death Dream, it's possible that was her doing, and she implemented that shortly after she became president.
Yeah,
it suffices to say, unfortunately, that Seema's business model was very, very different from Geraldine Laybourne's business model.
Yeah, she had a different business model than Herb Sinau.
Or Geraldine Laybourne.
Or whatever. Yeah. But let's see here. So, like I said, Yeah, that was intentional. I said 2006 onwards. That was intentional.
Okay.
When I had Sima Zargahami in mind when I said that.
Right.
Okay, so the problem has somewhat been eradicated now that Brian Robbins is the president of Nickelodeon. Glitch Techs finally got released, but sadly not on the main channel after years of being stuck in development hell. Its pony received plenty of attention from Nickelodeon, which led to it becoming the 4th highest rated program on the channel in 2020, behind only SpongeBob the Loud House and its spinoff The Casa Grandes. And although I sadly don't have the main Nickelodeon channel at home anymore to confirm this, I've heard that Middlemost Post has been getting plenty of promotion during the network's commercial breaks. But what about Rise of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Ollie's Pack, you may be asking?
Cancelled.
But I'm willing to give those two shows a pass, since both of them were basically doomed to fail from the start. Rise of the TMNT was given a very mixed reception because of it being so radically different from the previous incarnations of the Turtles. And Ollie's Pack was not only an export from Canadian animation studio Nelvana, whose cartoons have never gotten that good of a treatment by Nickelodeon to begin with, if they weren't made for Nick Jr. like Max and Ruby, Franklin, the Backyardigans, and Little Bear were. Take a look at what happened to Pelswick and Wayside if you want some early examples of this. Yep. But also, the show was heavily panned for being seen as a ripoff of Glitch Techs. I haven't seen a full episode of Ollie's Pack yet, so I can't determine whether or not I agree with those criticisms in this live stream.
Wait,
so
really? Wait, just to interrupt you, Jason, they really call Ollie's Pack a ripoff of Glitch Techs? Really?
I never heard that either.
Yeah.
This is my first time hearing about that too.
Yeah. And did they even come out like the same year, or did Ollie's Pack come out in 2019? I can't remember.
I think Ollie's Pack premiered right after Glitch Techs, though they started production at around the same time. If you look at copyright information, the entirety of the first season of Glitch Techs, which is technically 2 separate seasons in release date order, was made in 2019 but didn't come out until the next year.
Right.
Nickelodeon has a bad habit with keeping shows that they already made just sitting there in their archives until they eventually put it out. If not a couple of years later. Look at what happened As Told by Ginger if you want examples of that.
Exactly.
Okay, so, like I said, makes sense why Nickelodeon wouldn't want to give those 2 cartoons a fair treatment. However, keep in mind that while Nickelodeon's practice of mistreating their animated shows may have started to become a major problem in the mid-2000s, they have always abused this practice since near the very start of the Nicktoons brand, just not as badly as they did between 2006 and 2017. It took 15 years for Hey Arnold the Jungle movie to be completed and released due to the first Hey Arnold movie bombing at the box office. The final season of Cat Dog was produced in 2000, but didn't finish premiering on Nickelodeon until 2005. The Angry Beavers was screwed out of getting a proper series finale.
Oh man! Well, actually, it's actually gonna be animated now by Malision. I'll look up Goodbye Otters on. I'll look up Goodbye.
Bye Beavers.
Yeah. No. I mean, but on Twitter, I'm doing a Twitter search for Goodbye Otters Reanimated, and there's actually a guy who's actually working on animating it as a reanimated project.
Yep, I heard about that. But the Bye Beavers wasn't allowed to be finished by Nickelodeon, like the Nickelodeon Animation Studios themselves. due to said finale breaking a company policy at the time that the final episode of any Nickelodeon show could never address that the series was actually over, as an incentive for kids to continue watching their reruns. The pilot for Chalk Zone premiered on December 31st, 1999, and the rest of the show's first season was completed and supposed to premiere in 2000. But the series ended up having its official debut delayed to 2002. Similarly, and finally, the first season of My Life as a Teenage Robot was completed in the summer of 2002, but did not begin airing on Nickelodeon until the following spring. Also, Chelsea, yes, I'm talking to you specifically, did you forget about what happened to Invader Zim? Let me reiterate. Nickelodeon screwing over their cartoons for no good reason is not a modern phenomenon. They've been doing this since damn near the beginning. It's just that the practice wasn't abused even nearly as much back then as it would be later on.
Wow. A very epic 1v1 answer there, Jason. How about we move on to the next questions? It's already
hold on,
been
guys.
close to.
I need to get my charger because my phone is only at 20%.
Oh crap!
Oh.
What? Oh, what is it?
Oh, he's gone.
Oh yeah, he went to get his charger.
Oh, okay. What's the next question, DJ?
I'm here.
Oh, excellent.
All right, I just need to I probably need to move my tripod so it's somewhere near the charger. So I can, plug my phone into the charger. Okay, just moving some outlets, like moving the stuff that I have on various outlets so I can plug my phone into the charger.
Okay.
Alrighty, let's see here.
Yeah.
See if it's charging. And yep, it is. It's charging. So,
yep.
Alrighty then. Let's move on, I suppose.
Oh, I just want to say hi to Kristen Frades. He just joined the chat. Hey Kristen, what's up? We're in the middle of our Nicktoons discussion. Just answering questions that were sent to us.
Okay, so here is the next question I got, and this is from another good YouTube buddy of mine, Brendan, the TV show and movie fan, formerly known as Brendan, the cartoon and movie fan, before he stopped paying attention to cartoons as frequently as he used to.
Right.
Okay, so the question is, does Looney Tunes airing on Nickelodeon make the series Nicktoon related? I'm really happy that you...
No.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say no too because technically the show is Looney Tunes is a Warner Brothers. Looney Tunes is owned by Warner Brothers, but just because it aired on Nickelodeon, that doesn't make it a Nicktoon. There's a lot of required cartoons that Nickelodeon has that are not considered to be Nicktoons. So technically Nicktoons that channel the title of Nicktoons is only reserved for original animated Nickelodeon shows. So Looney Tunes.
And on some occasions, co-productions, which I'm getting into in a bit.
Yeah.
I'm happy that you sent me this question, Brendan, because it's giving me a good excuse to talk about animated shows broadcast on Nickelodeon that were produced by other studios, and which ones I personally consider to be official Nicktoons. Like you guys said, just because a series aired on Nickelodeon doesn't automatically make it a Nickelodeon show. In order for me to consider an acquired animated series a Nicktoon, it has to meet the following requirements. 1. The show must have made its United States debut on the main Nickelodeon channel. 2. it has to mention the channel and include its logo in the show's closing credits.
Exactly.
3, it needs to have been promoted as a Nicktoon by Nickelodeon themselves. And
Yes.
4, the show cannot air on a channel not owned by Viacom after leaving Nickelodeon's schedule in the United States. Therefore, I personally don't think of Looney Tunes as being Nicktoon related, despite it airing on Nickelodeon from 1988 to 1999, because it's a series of theatrical shorts produced long before Nickelodeon even launched, much less them introducing the Nicktoons brand. Not to mention the fact that it was also airing on ABC, a channel that has never been affiliated with Nickelodeon, at the same time as the Bugs Bunny and Tweety show. And of course, there's the obvious fact that the exclusive broadcast rights to Looney Tunes now belongs to its production company, Warner Brothers Entertainment, as it became a cornerstone of Nickelodeon's rival channel, Cartoon Network, after the other two channels airing the shorts back in the 1990s, ABC and Nickelodeon, lost the broadcast rights to them around the turn of the millennium. Nickelodeon stopped airing the shorts in 1999, and ABC stopped airing them in September of 2000.
Right.
Even though I know that Norbert will most likely disagree with me on these, the 3 acquired animated series shown on Nickelodeon that I consider official Nicktoons are Pelswick, Wayside, and Ollie's Pack.
Same here.
They were produced in Canada by Nelvana, but all 3 of them premiered in the United States on Nickelodeon and mentioned the network and featured its logo in their closing credits even after Nick lost the broadcast rights to them, which you can see for yourself, at least in the case of the former 2 shows, if you watch them on the free streaming service Tubi, which offers a boatload of Nelvana-produced shows. Norbert, if you have the time, later you should check on my channel and see my uploads of the intro and closing credits for Pelswick and Wayside from when they were on Tubi. The closing credits still mention Nickelodeon, and the channel's logo is still there.
Cool.
It's just that Nickelodeon no longer has the rights to them.
Right.
Not only that...
I just interrupt you, Jason. Sorry, but I still question why Pelswick is not included in Jerry Beck's Nicktoons book, and yet Wayside is, and it's erroneously considered the first Nicktoon produced by Nelvana when it isn't.
Okay, so not only the information that I said earlier, but Pelswick was advertised by Nickelodeon as the next new Nicktoon when it first started airing there. And like you said, Barry, Wayside received its own chapter about the show's production in Jerry Beck's 2008 Not Just Cartoons, We're Nicktoons book.
It was actually released in 2007.
Oh.
That's okay, just a slight mistake.
Finally, both of the former 2 shows only aired new episodes in the United States on Nick. And although not every episode of Ollie's Pack aired on the main Nickelodeon channel here in America, it remained exclusive to Viacom-owned channels in that country, as its final episodes were burnt off on the Nicktoons TV channel.
That's fine. There isn't debate as to what shows qualify as Nicktoons. I know some people consider Winx Club to be a Nicktoon.
Oh, yeah. Get to that in a bit.
In fact, on the term Nicktoon, it's not actually a clear-cut category of shows. More terms for branding purposes. And to be honest, Nickelodeon themselves don't even use the word Nicktoon anymore. They didn't promote. They didn't promote its pony or Middlemost Post as Nicktoons because they were animated shows. So if you want to consider Pelswick or Wayside to be Nicktoons, that's fine.
Oh, don't forget about the Butt Ugly Marsons.
Or that too, or Winx Club, or Rabbids Invasion.
Okay,
Oh yeah, cartoons. There's a lot of Nicktoons that have disputed Nicktoon status.
Right.
Let's continue. Two other examples of acquired animated shows broadcast on Nickelodeon that I do not consider Nicktoons are Augie and the Cockroaches and Miraculous, Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. Neither show mentioned Nickelodeon in their closing credits, nor were they actually promoted as Nicktoons by the network, and both cartoons were also shown on channels not owned by Viacom after, and in the case of Augie, also before their time on Nickelodeon. Augie and the Cockroaches first aired in the United States on Fox Kids and moved over to the syndicated Kids Click block on local broadcast networks shortly after leaving Nickelodeon. Similarly, Miraculous only aired on Nickelodeon for a single season before it was kicked off the channel, and would also move over to Kids Click, with Disney Channel, who has always aired the show internationally, getting the American broadcast rights to the series after Kids Click sadly ended its run in 2019, which also marked the end of Saturday morning cartoons on broadcast television in the United States. Therefore, I think of Miraculous as more of a Disney Channel series than a Nickelodeon series, especially now that the show will be available to stream on Disney Plus once its production company, Zag's contract with Netflix to stream the show over there expires next month. However, there are also 3 acquired cartoons seen on Nickelodeon that I think are in somewhat of a gray area regarding their status as official Nicktoons. You probably already know which 3 I'm talking about. The DreamWorks shows.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yes. Those were co-productions between Nickelodeon and DreamWorks.
While it's true that they were based on movies that Nickelodeon had no involvement in, the 3 shows started production when Paramount, which is owned by Viacom, had the distribution rights to DreamWorks' films. And like you said, Norbert, DreamWorks even co-produced the shows with Nickelodeon Animation Studios, which means that Nick still owns half of their copyrights. Viacom included the DreamWorks trio on their list of official Nicktoons in their company portfolios during the early 2010s, but eventually banished them from the Nicktoon canon when Universal purchased DreamWorks in 2016 and demanded that Nickelodeon ceased producing and airing them in favor of DreamWorks focusing exclusively on television content produced for Netflix, which led to Kung Fu Panda, Legends of Awesomeness getting canceled prematurely, and The Penguins of Madagascar and Monsters vs. Aliens the series, both of whom had already ended production by this point, having their reruns pulled from the Nicktoons network. Since then, Viacom has basically ignored the existence of the DreamWorks shows produced for Nickelodeon, despite still owning 50% of the rights to them, with the only thing they've done with them in more recent years was making them available on Paramount Plus. It's up to you viewers to decide if they count as Nicktoons or not.
I sort of ignored their supposed Nicktoon status for.
I consider them to be I do consider the DreamWorks products to be Nicktoons, but I did not include them in my in my Nicktoons picture that I made this year because they were from DreamWorks shows, so they're more associated with the DreamWorks movies than they are with Nickelodeon. So
Right.
I do consider them to be Nicktoons, but I didn't include them in my Nicktoons picture. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry that I'm still stuttering.
Yeah. So did you guys know that the DreamWorks shows? I think at one point they were distributed by 20th Century Fox Television Distribution.
Yeah, back when Fox had the distribution rights to DreamWorks' films after they snagged them from Paramount.
Right. Exactly. I do remember seeing a logo capture taken from Monsters vs. Aliens, the series, which had the DreamWorks animation logo, the Nickelodeon logo, and then that really ugly, overstacked 20th Century Fox television distribution logo. Like seriously, it looks like a logo remake of 20th Century Fox that you find on YouTube that's made in Blender.
How many more questions are there?
Oh, what was that?
How many more questions are there? This is going longer than I thought.
Yeah.
See here.
Well, basically, if I'm also to blame because of the technical difficulties.
Well.
Yeah. So maybe let's only ask 2 more.
Okay. Well, alrighty. I guess if that's going to be the case, then let's see here. What to choose? Because some of these were actually really short. Do you think that we could answer 2 questions that were 2 more questions that were submitted by other people, and then we could answer the questions that Barry came up with, and then my own question?
Sure. But you know what?
Sure.
Probably you could. I know it seems like you've written a lot for your answers, Jason. But if you could, just for the sake of time, maybe paraphrase your answers to each of the questions, because this is going on for long enough. Although again, I'm to blame because of the technical difficulties earlier.
Okay, maybe one of these days we could do a sequel live stream.
Yeah, and make sure you cross out the questions we already answered.
Yep, I have a feeling about that. So, let's see here. Maybe next time, because I have a big question that I was wanting to answer here, but I didn't really feel like answering it when Zara isn't there. So, I'll save that one for next time.
Okay.
So, okay. So, 2 questions from other YouTubers. Okay. This next question is one that Barry already answered, submitted by Anthony Addison. I like all the logos of Nickelodeon, especially the old and new ones. What is your favorite Nickelodeon logo? I'm assuming that you meant the custom versions of the iconic Splat logo that Nickelodeon used, which were a different shape based on which show whose logo was accompanying them. With this in mind, I would definitely answer that question with the rocket version of the logo used for Jimmy Neutron, simply because it looks the coolest.
So my favorite logo is, so the Splat logo is obviously the best logo. Although by the way, the worst Nickelodeon logo, the worst Nickelodeon logo is not on the 2009 to present one.
It's a pinball.
One used in the early 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one between the Charlie Chaplin one and the silver ball one. That's the worst Nickelodeon logo.
Yeah. Like the silver ball one may have been colorful with the text of the Nickelodeon name, but there's something about it that feels alien, not as welcoming and familiar as the orange logos that we will get in the subsequent years.
But people who grew up with Nickelodeon. People who grew up with Nickelodeon, people who grew up with Nickelodeon in the 80s, that's their Splat logo.
Yeah.
And by the way, the first logo that they used on the Charlie Chaplin one, the word Nickelodeon, it's actually named for this old machine that you put a nickel in, hence Nickelodeon, and you watch a movie. So so the guy looking into the ends as if looking into Nickelodeon, it's actually relevant to the word Nickelodeon.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go to Paparina's Knickknacks if you want more on if you want more on that.
Yeah.
Which question would you prefer me answering here? The one about which series that Nickelodeon treated the poorest, since I kind of foreshadowed that one earlier in the video, or the one about which Nicktoon would you want to have a revival?
I would say the worst treated one. Can I go first?
Yeah. Sure. Oh, wait, before we go.
So so there's a lot of debate as to which was the worst treated Nicktoon. Some people say Legend of Korra. Some people say Harvey Beaks. Some people say Making Fiends. My pick for the worst treated Nicktoon is Welcome to the Wane.
I thought so.
No,
And you know
there's
what,
no doubt in my mind about that. Welcome to the Wane is the worst treated Nicktoon.
Yeah.
On the earlier 9 episodes of Nickelodeon, before going on a year-long hiatus with no episodes anywhere, and then after the year-long hiatus ended, it came back and aired the rest of the show on Nicktoons. So half of the first season and the entirety of season 2 on Nicktoons. 9 episodes on Nickelodeon, year-long hiatus. The entire rest of the show, the second half of the first season, and the entirety of the second season on Nicktoons. That is abysmal. Welcome to the Wane is the worst treated Nicktoon, no contest.
Yeah, and when I was writing down my answer, I did put down Welcome to the Wane, basically because it's hard to choose one because there are several that were mistreated, ranging from As Told by Ginger, since it was one of the first to get the Nicktoons death treatment, and there's also Cat Scratch and X's and Tech and the Power of Juju and El Tigre and well, basically a majority of the Nicktoons since 2005 got screwed over in a subway.
Well, actually, My Life as a Teenage Robot holds the honor of being the first animated Nickelodeon series to get the Nicktoon death treatment. As Told by Ginger wasn't even able to finish all of its episodes on Nicktoons. Only 2 of the unaired ones aired on Nicktoons. Even though, As Told by Ginger, I'm not sure if you know this, but As Told by Ginger continued to air reruns on the main Nickelodeon channel, albeit on weekend mornings at 6 a.m. until December of 2008.
And I know there's a rumor that they actually aired the remaining episodes of season 3 in America in 2009 when it turned out to be false, essentially.
Yeah, but so yeah, as My Life as a Teenage Robot is, in my opinion, the first show to have that honor. Since they actually did promote the new episode, like the final season, as, oh, this is a new season of My Life as a Teenage Robot, but you can only watch the premieres on Nicktoons. Though they did air on the main Nickelodeon channel, but about a year later, but during the same terrible weekend morning time slot as Ginger.
All right, Jason, what do you think is the worst treated Nicktoon? I'm ready for it.
I feel like I would be repeating too much information that's been overstated to death if I answered this question with Invader Zim, The Legend of Korra, or Harvey Beaks. So
Making Fiends.
Yep.
So let's give another abused Nicktoon some love. Shock Zone! It's mistreated Nickelodeon. Yeah, it's
That's a surprising pick.
Its mistreatment by Nickelodeon was so abysmal that it should be brought up as frequently as the abuse Nick gave to those other 3 shows, but disappointingly isn't. So let me elaborate on said mishandling. As I stated earlier, Shock Zone was supposed to premiere in 2000, but had its official debut delayed by 2 whole years, despite a demo version of the show's theme song being included on the 2001 soundtrack album, The Newest Nicktoons.
Oh yeah, I heard that fact.
When the show did officially debut on March 22nd, 2002, it got the highest number of views for any series premiere on the network, until that honor was taken by The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius 4 months later. Consequently, Nickelodeon decided to stop advertising Shock Zone as frequently as they used to in favor of focusing most of their promotional material on Jimmy Neutron. Nickelodeon actually renewed Shock Zone for a 2nd season ahead of the show's official premiere, but that 2nd season didn't begin production until after said premiere happened, since the show's creators, Larry Huber and Bill Burnett, didn't feel like making a 2nd season would be worth the time and effort unless the series actually got the chance to air. Season 2 of Shock Zone didn't premiere until May of 2003. 13 months after season 1 finished airing, despite completing production the year prior, which led to the show getting even worse ratings than it did during season 1 because many fans of the series thought it was already canceled. It was at this point that Nick moved their airings of the show's new episodes from Fridays at 8:30 p.m. to that same day, but at 9:30 p.m., right before the start of that night's broadcast of Nick at Night. Since most viewers in the show's target demographic were either in bed or watching Cartoon Network's Friday night premiere block during that time, the show's ratings plummeted even further. So Nickelodeon canceled Chalk Zone in 2005, with only half of its 4th season having been broadcast by then. The remaining 8 episodes of the series were burnt off in a weekday morning time slot of 6 a.m. in the summer of 2008, with Nickelodeon continuing to air reruns of Chalk Zone in that time slot until November 2009, 2 months after the channel's major rebrand. Ironically, my introduction to Chalk Zone was actually through its weekday morning broadcasts. I remember waking up at 5:55 a.m. back in 2008 and 2009 so I could catch it before I had to get ready to go to school. While I do think Jimmy Neutron is the better show overall, I'm still upset that its popularity was what ultimately killed Chalk Zone, as it deserved to have more episodes to fully flesh out the show's very imaginative world. In fact, Chalk Zone is my choice for the most underrated Nicktoon because of how atrociously screwed over it was. Sorry, Ginger and Teenage Robot fans, but even your respective choices have gotten more love from Nickelodeon, especially in more recent years, than Chalk Zone has. I also find it to be a better show overall than those other Nicktoons, as controversial as that opinion might be.
Oh, that's fine.
That's an interesting case, Jason. That's an interesting case, but, you know, at least Chalk Zone aired more than 9 episodes on Nickelodeon. That's more than I can say for Welcome to the Wayne. So
Yeah.
That's an interesting case, but I still stand by my decision of Welcome to the Wayne as being the worst treated Nicktoon.
Yeah, it's too bad that not many people talk about how mistreated Chalk Zone really was, because it deserves to be talked about very often. 2 years in between the preview airing and the official debut of the show. And then
I'm thinking like English text. Those 2 shows also got delayed like 2 years before they finally premiered on Netflix.
Yep.
13 months in between season 1 and season 2. And then 3 years in between the 2 halves of season 4, the show's final season. And when they did actually air, they burnt them off in a weekday morning time slot when most people are either asleep or getting ready to go to school. What? I mean, okay. I will give Nickelodeon credit for at least airing all the episodes of Chalk Zone on the main Nickelodeon channel, unlike some other Nicktoons from around the same time, like My Life as a Teenage Robot, The Mighty Bee, and
As Told by Ginger.
Well, As Told by Ginger is an interesting case. Nicktoons only aired 2 of the unaired episodes. The majority of high school episodes of Ginger actually aired in 2016 on T-Nick as part of the Splat, which of course is now Nick Rewind. There are only 2 episodes of Ginger that have not aired in the United States: Battle of the Bands and the series finale, The Wedding Frame, which Nickelodeon released as a direct-to-DVD movie in 2004, which they consider to be the official end of Ginger. They consider 2004 to be the year Ginger ended.
Even though they didn't air the episodes leading up to finale, such some fans to be like outright confused as to what's going on within the storyline.
From what I heard, they had 3 new characters introduced in between the final episode that they aired, Fair to Cloudy, and The Wedding Frame.
Yeah. Okay, can we move on to the next question?
Okay, so these are the questions that Barry came up with.
Okay.
What is your favorite Nickelodeon bumper? It's kind of hard for me to choose just one bumper as my favorite, but I decided to go with the bumper that best represented Nickelodeon in its original prime. The 2002 bumper, with a song about and characters from every single Nicktoon produced up to that point except Doug, due to that show's characters being purchased by Disney once they started production of their own incarnation of the series in 1996. You know, the one with the iconic slogan, "Not just cartoons, we're Nicktoons."
Yep.
Sung by
On the eager beers weren't in that one either.
Sung by both a male chorus and even a
and neither was Rocco. So it was all the Nicktoons that were airing at the time, I believe. But that's my pick for the best, the Nicktoons bumper too.
It was the perfect mix of creative imagery, catchy music, and of course, corporate synergy, best representing what made Nickelodeon such an iconic channel back in the 1990s and early 2000s.
Okay. I'll give my answers for my favorite Nick bumpers. Not counting the ones that include Nicktoons. I'll say I mentioned 3 of them in my notes. One is the Big Beast Quintet. You know, it's the one with these 5 animated creatures singing that chant. You know.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, and fun fact about that, those 5 monsters, they were actually part of. I don't know why I'm stuttering so much.
They was going to make a TV pilot. They made a TV pilot off of
yes,
them.
on the original 8 Nicktoon pilots that were premiered, that were showcased in 1989. Those 5 monsters, they actually started one of them called Channel Zero, but it didn't get picked up. They picked up Doug, Rugrats, and the Ren and Stimpy show instead.
Yeah.
But if they had picked up Channel Zero, then those 5 monsters could have been their own Nicktoon.
Mm-hmm. And so the second one I mentioned in my notes is the doo-wop dinosaurs. Basically, not only because of their the tune that they singing that they're here with their friends Nickelodeon, where the song never ends Nickelodeon, but also the sharpenedly simplistic animation by Joey Album, who did several bumpers for Nick. I better remember him for his work on Sesame Street.
And Joey Album also, Joey Album also he also animated the segments on Elmo's World. You know, where Elmo turns on the channel to the blank channel, and this is an animation segment. Joey Album animated those as well.
Exactly. That's why I just mentioned. That's why I best remember him for. And so the third one I mentioned is the Pinch Face. You know, that weird live action stop motion bumper with the folding glasses and the fake dentures singing Nickelodeon in Tom Kenny's voice.
Yep, that was Tom Kenny's voice.
I don't remember that one.
Oh, really?
Yep.
No, I don't.
Oh, it's sort of infamous for how uncanny and creepy it was.
It didn't disturb me all that much. I was never terrified of it, or the Klasky Chupo Splad logo, but it was Paul from DNA Productions who scared me. As a
basically with the 3 eyes, which I honestly did notice when I was watching Jimmy Neutron, only when I read about the description of the logo on the COG wiki, that Paul had 3 eyes.
Yeah, well, let's see here. So,
Hi, I'm Paul.
Yeah.
Yep.
That bumper, like I said, that bumper was Tom Kenny's first voice acting role ever, as the bumper was made in 1991.
Even more heifer?
Yeah, 2 years before he got his first real gig in the voice acting biz with Heifer from Rocko's Modern Life.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought Heifer was Tom Kenny's first role.
Ditto.
Yeah.
Nope, the bumper predates Rocko.
Okay. For some reason, I assumed that bumper came out around 1993.
Nope, it came out in 1991 because it was one of the bumpers that they included as a bonus feature on the Clarissa Explains It All Season 1 DVD set.
Interesting.
called the Nick Time Capsule, where it was basically a compilation of all the Nickelodeon bumpers that came out up until Clarissa premiered on Nick.
Okay. So let's move on to the next question that I suggested, which is which Nickelodeon or Nicktoon pie would you wish was Greenwood?
Constant Pain, easily Constant Pain.
Yep, I do it.
Oh.
And
Uh,
how about you, Jason?
I haven't seen very many failed Nickelodeon pilots, not even the ones from Oh Yeah Cartoons, which is in stark contrast to Cartoon Network's pilots, especially What a Cartoon and the Wedgie shorts. And the reason why is because those shorts were in frequent rotation on Boomerang, while Nickelodeon didn't really air any of their pilots after Nicktoons stopped airing Oh Yeah Cartoons in 2008.
Yeah.
And so I would have to say either the modifiers. I really liked its geometric art style. The premise of creating holographic disguises sounded like an interesting concept. And Agent Zero is a cute character. She definitely would have been one of my Nick Foos. Get it? If the series actually greenlit and therefore had more time to expand her personality. This is sort of a callback to a scene, like an answer to a question that we sadly won't be able to get to in this installment. But who knows, maybe in a couple of months we'll do the sequel featuring all the questions that ended up on the cutting room floor.
Hey Jason, did you hear about the alleged reason of why the modifiers? Did you hear about the alleged? Did you hear about the alleged reason of why the modifiers was not picked up?
Oh, I'm assuming that it was the NSFW parody that they did.
No.
Nope.
Apparently, and get ready for this. Apparently, the reason why they didn't pick it up was because it had a female protagonist.
Which is absolutely stupid, considering we had at least 3 Nicktoons prior that had female protagonists. We had the Wild Strawberries.
And Zargami, the president of the time, she was female. So why would she? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And
I know.
And the very next year, the Mighty Bee came out, and that as a female protagonist.
Yeah.
Like, that's so hypocritical.
Well, probably
Okay,
they picked up the Mighty Bee because, I don't know, Amy Poehler is attached to it, and she's a celebrity.
Yeah, and also Eric Weiss and Cynthia True, who are writers on SpongeBob and the Fairly Odd Parents, respectively, were created that show. So I guess I can see where the priorities lie, but still, like, that is so hypocritical and sexist.
Yeah.
I know. No, it's sad. Okay, so it's either that one or Constant Pain, which had the potential to be a fun action series with the sweet father-daughter dynamic if it wasn't for all the controversy surrounding its production regarding all the show's crew wanting to stand Nickelodeon.
Oh yeah, the whole thing about Jason, have you read Micah Wright's Facebook post on the went viral?
Oh, well, I watched Rebel Taxi's video about Nickelodeon's top 10 worst controversies.
But have you read Micah Wright's Facebook post?
No, but
okay, I'm gonna warn you. Reading that post may make you never want to watch Nickelodeon ever again. Like, oh my gosh, he had so much dirt on Seema Zargami. Oh my gosh, it is so heartbreaking. Like, what happened there? He's been blacklisted the animation industry now. Nickelodeon holds rights. He can't do anything with it. You know, the pilot was created in 2001, and there's a scene in which there's a blip that goes between 2 towers with again, it came out in 2001, so yeah. So yeah. Seema thought that Constant Pain would turn kids into terrorists, apparently. So, oh my gosh, and
I heard it was the 9/11 attacks made a lot of people a bit weary in regards to not just scenes that were just a couple of towers coming down, but also just action stuff in general. That's part of that's part of the reason why the Powerpuff Girls movie bombed at the box office. And
have you seen the deleted scene have you seen the deleted scene in the SpongeBob episode Just One Bite?
Yeah, I know that
it's actually rumored that the reason why that scene was cut was because of 9/11, because that episode aired less than 1 month after that episode aired less than 1 month after 9/11, October 5th, 2001.
Yep, I knew about that, but I also heard people say that it wasn't because of that. There are some other rumors that some people think that because of this, it might have encouraged kids to play with fire and gas. And then there's another rumor, which I honestly think is the most accurate one, coming from Nintendo, who said that he personally felt like the scene was cut because he thought that Nickelodeon just wanted an extra 30 seconds of the episode to be used for extra commercial time. You know how,
that's probably.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes, and I am aware of that. I actually am aware of the fact that Nickelodeon speeds up episodes of their shows on air so they can play more ads.
Not to mention that nowadays, instead of airing the full end credits of their shows, or even split screen credits, remember all the creative split screen templates that they made back in the 2000s?
Yes.
Now, 24, I think it was either 2013 or 2014 when they started doing this. Now Nickelodeon squeezes the end credits for their shows on all of their networks. First the main channel in 2013, then Nicktoons in 2014, and then Teen Nick in 2016, and finally Nick Jr. in 2019 by squeezing the credits in tiny text in the bottom left corner during the final 30 seconds of the show.
Yes, I know about that.
Commercials.
All right. So is that all the questions?
Yeah,
So
wait,
like I said,
I haven't give my answer on which Nick Pilot I think I should be agreeing with.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay, so there's a few. Well, one from Klasky Chupo, one that they, several that they pitched but were never picked up was Psycho Ferret, which is short about these twins that they have a pet ferret who stands out from the rest of the character designs because it's a bright colored red, even though everything is in this black and white Max Fleischer sort of art style, and they live in a community where pets are the wild, so the twins try their bestest to keep their psycho ferret from being caught by the pet catcher. And I haven't seen it in a while, but I definitely should rewatch it. I did enjoy it, but there's one that I discovered more recently, and it's from Mr. Lawrence, who you know is the voice of Plankton and Filbert. He actually did attempt to create his own cartoon, and it's called The Kumquat Quadruplets.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and you know what? Because of how obscure it is and how hard to find, let me see if I could just bring up an image of it as I tell you what it's about. So, the Kumquat Quadruplets is so about these three birds and a giant goofy green cat. And from what I saw is the premise is that they're construction workers, basically, or either that or their job is to fix things. And the premise of the pilot, I don't know, it has something to do with surprise birthday party. And hang on, I'm just going to bring up an image, and I really liked it, and not even double checking. I knew that a lot of the other people behind SpongeBob SquarePants was behind the pilot, right down to the Korean animation studio being Rough Draft Studios, and it has that same wacky, eccentric animation, like sort of on par with what we'll get later on during the HD seasons, like season 9B. If you guys could see an image of it right now from the stream page, this is what it looks like.
I don't have the stream page in front of me right now.
Oh, there it is. I see it.
Okay, yeah. So, if you want, I could even send you guys the link to the pilot to check it out for yourself and give your judgment.
Actually, DJ, do you think you can DM it to me on Twitter?
On Twitter? Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that right now.
So I was trying to say, I wanted to give credit where credit is due before it gets too late. So the question about which series that you think Nickelodeon treated the poorest was submitted by Trinell Cameron.
Okay. So, so without other questions?
So here's my own question. What is your favorite character ever from a Nickelodeon series? When I was...
I couldn't really decide. I believe I have to think about that.
When I was younger, I totally would have answered that question with good old Sponge Boy Me Bob himself, because he's a sweet representation of childhood innocence, who is also a kind and considerate best friend and hard-working employee. However, after I recently binged through a bunch of classic SpongeBob SquarePants episodes on Paramount Plus, I actually think that Squidward is my favorite Nickelodeon character now. When I was a little kid, and even going into my teenage years, I used to view him as just a mean grump who loved to ruin SpongeBob and Patrick's fun. Then I became an adult, and suddenly it all just clicked in my head like a magnet on a refrigerator. Squidward is the most relatable of any Nickelodeon character ever, rivaled, in my opinion, only by Ginger Fowley, which is why I think he's the best. In fact, whenever a friend of mine asks me what we should do to kill off some time, I have a tendency to respond with this. I order the food, you cook the food, the customer gets the food.
We do that for 4 days and then we die.
Yep.
Needless to say, I no longer think it's shameful to proudly proclaim, I'm Squidward, Squidward, Squidward. You're Squidward, I'm Squidward, and he's Squidward.
I'm Squidward. Are there any Squidwards I should know about? Meow.
Okay, alrighty. So I guess we may as well end this live stream with the other...
This went on quite a bit longer than I thought it would. And I know it was my fault, but I'm sorry about the whole lot choose at the beginning.
But before we go, I kind of wanted to end this live stream on a positive note with one last question. The one that I mentioned earlier, submitted by my good YouTube buddy, Dylan, aka Loudhouse Fan 98. Which Nicktoon would you want to have a revival? This was probably the hardest question for me to answer, since unlike Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, who treats their shows pretty fairly and usually gives them a proper conclusion, Nickelodeon has a ton of different shows worth reviving. But to keep myself from boggling down the end of the stream, I decided to choose just one to discuss here. My answer all came down to deciding between a Nicktoon that was canceled before it could have a proper ending, or a Nicktoon that did get a true series finale, but still had plenty of stories that could be told with its characters. My choice in the former category was Glitch Tex, but the series technically didn't get canceled yet. It just hasn't been in production for a while. Henceforth, I ultimately decided to answer this question with my choice in the latter category, as told by Ginger. From what I've heard, that series ended its final season with Ginger's first year of high school. However, after watching a couple of videos about the show on YouTube, I was basically spoiled that the series finale, The Wedding Frame, concludes with a flash forward to the future, in which it's revealed that not only does Ginger become a best-selling author, but also that she and Darren get married and have a daughter. It looks like a cute ending, since Ginger and Darren had been best friends since long before the start of the series, and I'm a sucker for stories about the longtime friends who eventually realize that they're each other's soulmates. But I've heard that it's a very awkward transition because of what happened to the duo's relationship throughout the 5 or so episodes prior. So it would be awesome to have a new season or two of As Told by Ginger to showcase what happened in between the main story of and the conclusion to the finale.
Yes,
In
you
a
took the words out of my mouth, Jason. Like as told by Ginger, it's my top pick for a Nicktoon that deserves a revival.
In a perfect world, a Ginger revival would essentially be a time skip focusing on the tweens and teens of the series as adults, specifically after high school, but before Ginger's marriage to Darren. It would be geared towards adults who grew up with the series when they were kids, but also won't turn off younger audiences who are jumping into it immediately after checking out the original episodes. Because of this, it will be able to tackle more adult themes, but not to the point where the show has become edgier just for the sake of it. In other words, it would be the first Nicktoon equivalent to the iCarly revival, assuming that Nickelodeon does learn their lesson from the failure of Adult Party Cartoon and give the same treatment to Ren and Stimpy for its reboot on Comedy Central.
Yep.
My mom jokingly suggested what she claimed was a great idea for a story that could be in the Ginger revival, and I wanted to share it with you two, and also Zara, but sadly she's not here right now.
Right.
So, but hopefully she'll check out the replay of the stream later. Before getting together again with Ginger, Darren discovers that he's bisexual and comes out of the closet to his family. His first boyfriend, Carl, who is only dating Darren just to mess with Ginger and Noel, which is something that Darren doesn't know about until the worst possible time. Meanwhile, Hoodsy discovers that he's bi as well and is upset that he can't date Carl. Then Ginger discovers that she's bi and ends up in a romantic relationship with Courtney before realizing that Darren really is the one for her. Basically, in the As Told by Ginger revival, every single one of the former child characters to be bisexual, just like yours truly, and have so much young adult angst that would make Star versus the Forces of Evil blush. Hey, it would be the first time that Nickelodeon turned what seems like the idea for a piece of fan fiction into an actual episode of the show that said fan fiction is of, nor would it probably be the worst instance of them doing so. Looking at you, the big fairy share scare from the Fairly Odd Parents, as demonstrated by Mr. Enter in his review of that episode.
Right.
Okay, so so my pick for the Nicktoon that I think needs revival the most is the Angry Beavers. Big Tower actually already has an idea for an Angry Beavers revival, so his idea is that Dagon is still single, but Norbert's married and has kids. It would be called Angry Beavers Respooted.
That would be entertaining. But how would they address what happened in Bye Bye Beavers, where they were basically erased out of existence?
I don't know.
Maybe that just won't be canon anymore.
So this has been going on for quite a long time, and so hopefully we're near the end now because because I'm ready to leave.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think we should end this right now. I know, Jason, I think you planned on ending the stream by singing Sweet Victory, but I'm afraid we don't have time for that anymore.
Okay. Well, maybe we should do, like I said, we should do a sequel one of these days, featuring the answers to all the questions that we unfortunately were not able to answer in this video.
And Zara's answers to the questions questions that she missed.
Yeah, and I apologize to everybody watching this live stream who gave me a question. I wrote all the answers, but we just do not have time to cover them here. And
I apologize for my stuttering.
Yes, and I apologize again for the technical difficulties. Like, right now I'm starting to assume maybe it's because I had the three of you on, because ever since Zara left, I have been getting pop-ups about the frame skipping, and it's been consistently saying that there's an excellent connection on my live dashboard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, maybe one of these days we should do a sequel. Like, as soon as we're like, maybe tomorrow, we should all get together again and like talk about what day we could do the sequel installment on. It has to be during the weekend because I'm going back to school on Monday.
Oh, well, I can't
Okay.
guarantee it'll be this weekend because I have some work to do. Like I'm doing some commissioned
This
artwork.
weekend, I mean during a week. Okay. I didn't mean this upcoming weekend. I meant during a weekend.
Oh, during a weekend. Okay.
Yeah, because I'm going on Monday.
Yeah.
All right. Well, good luck with school, Jason.
Thanks. Yep.
Okay.
I'm in my second year of college.
Cool.
So, yeah, this is
Excellent.
going to be exciting. It would be awesome if that Ginger revival came around this while I'm still in college and just kind of grow with Ginger as it's happening, just like how I've been kind of growing along with Carly and company during the iCarly revival.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, that idea that my mom came up with for the Ginger revival was totally a joke. But
Okay.
but it's amusing because there is a popular fan theory that Courtney is bi and has a crush on Ginger.
But I think Emily Kapnick debunked that rumor.
Yeah, I know that she did, but it could become canon if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
All right.
So
All a joke, but it's just something that I hope you guys thought was funny.
Yeah, it was. Okay, so this has been a good conversation with you guys. Thank you for the insightful comments and the info, and thank you, Jason, for helping put this plan this live stream and spreading the word about it as well.
Yep.
Okay.
About it. Like I said, guys, this is not the end of this is the end of the stream, but this is not the end of our discussion about Nickelodeon. We'll be back. We just need to determine when it's going to happen. To be continued. Ooh, I hope I live.
Oh, well, that was really a bad reference. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Doesn't.
Okay, guys. Like what we just said, we will be doing a part 2 to this discuss it in the future. We will determine when exactly we'll do it, and hopefully there'll be no more technical difficulties like what we've experienced just